Hey guys, so today I've actually got a pretty interesting video for you. This is not something I was originally going to publish. I was just working on this to get myself comfortable with new editing software. But that being said, the more I worked on it, the more I realized this actually has a pretty big in-game benefit. And I think the video was turning out kind of neat. So I'm going to put this out here for you guys. Let me know what you think. And then next week I'm going to be getting back to tutorials with a pretty long-form tuning guide. With a lot of side-by-side comparisons that should really help to explain how every aspect of the tuning affects the handling of the car. I'm super excited to make it. I think it'll be really helpful for everyone. And then after that, I'm actually going to be moving on to rally, which is another pretty big interest of mine. I have a couple rally videos planned, and then we'll see what happens from there. So without further ado, here is my drift circuits video. Hey guys, and welcome to Akagi Meadow. This is the first of 3 drift circuits I've created in the game. I will show you their locations on the map, I will do a quick drone flyby of the whole course, and then I will drift the course myself. And if you're asking me what is the point of doing these drift circuits, let me tell you. If you have a Horizon Edition Drift Skills Boost car, this is one of the fastest ways to level up and get skill points. And not to mention, I actually find this fun, a lot more so than grinding Goliath. If you have any interest in drifting, if you're entertained by it, this is the way to level up fast. So here's the general concept. I have scoured the map and found 3 separate locations that are really good for drifting that are also a loop, so you can just repeat the course as many times as you'd like and bank insanely huge skill chains. So I'm going to show you here just one lap of the Akagi Meadow circuit. This is definitely not my best lap, but that is totally fine. As long as you don't hit traffic and you remember to bank that skill chain once every lap or 2, depending on how confident you feel, then this is going to net you huge amounts of skill points and experience to level up. So each drift track I've made here takes between about a minute and a minute and a half to complete, and you'll see at the end of each lap how big these skill chains are and how much experience you get just for banking them. You're only going to see really big benefits from this if you're in a drift skills boost car. There are a handful of them in the game, so feel free to pick anyone you want, but it's going to basically double the amount of experience and skill points you get. And then the other big thing you're going to want to make sure you have is a maxed out skill tree. You will notice my skill multiplier goes to 6, and if you've been playing for a while, yours probably does too, but it does start at 5. So make sure you have that perk. And the other one that can be really helpful is the one that extends the skill chain by 1 second. This gives you a little more leeway, especially if you run into traffic, to just slow down, dodge the traffic, and then get back into the drifting without ending that skill multiplier. So you'll see here at the end of just that one lap, I banked 235,000 skill, and I also got 4,900 experience, and that just took me about a minute. So moving on to the second course here, this is the Mangy Highway. This is probably my favorite of the 3 circuits. This is usually the one I decide to run for a couple of reasons. If you do go off the track, there really aren't any trees to ruin your skill chain. And there also isn't that much traffic either. So I know a lot of you guys have figured this out, but if you're wondering why there aren't any drivatars in my videos, there is a reason for that. If you hop into the menus and head over to social, you can join an online private free roam, which will remove all of the drivatars from your game, meaning about half the traffic, and most importantly, every NPC driver stays in their lane. Now this is huge for running drift circuits because, as I'm sure you know, if you hit a car too hard, it will ruin your skill chain. It is important to note that you will not be able to rewind because it is technically an online lobby even though you are the only one in it. But that is okay. Like I was saying earlier, even if you do mess up, as long as you don't hit anything too hard, it's totally fine. You're still going to keep that skill multiplier going, and especially if you have the perk that extends it by a second, it's really nothing to worry about. So here we go on the Mangy Highway circuit. This is the longest of the 3 drift circuits, but it does give the highest skill per lap, especially if you can mangy the entire straight section. Now, if you are having trouble nailing these drift circuits and keeping that multiplier up, feel free to watch my first video. I have learned a lot since then, and it's definitely not the end-all be-all of drifting, but if you're really having trouble, I think it'll help. And that being said, I do actually have another more updated video coming soon that should help people a lot more even than that first one did. And another thing I actually want to mention is if you have found other drift circuits in the game, please let me know, send me a message. I would love to do a second video on this, just showing off drift circuits that other people have found in the game. I know a lot of the drifting community spends most of its time doing drift zones, and I definitely don't blame them. I do that a lot too, but since I've discovered these circuits, I've actually kind of been moving towards these. I do have a tendency to get pretty frustrated with the traffic and drift zones, just trying to get that perfect score, bump up my score a little bit higher. This, I'm just not really worried about it. It's a lot more relaxing. And another thing I found for it is it's actually really fun for doing tandem runs. It's great practice. You don't have to reset at the bottom of every run and head back to the top. You can just keep going lap after lap if you want to. And of course you are still drifting, so you're getting better at drift zones, just in a more relaxed way. So you'll see here at the end of this, I got 268,000 skill, which amounts to about 2.5 skill points for just 1.5 minutes of gameplay, which is huge. That's over 1 skill point per 30 seconds. I also managed to net a whopping 5,600 experience. Now on my Goliath runs, my better runs usually net between 50 and 60,000 experience, and those take about 10 minutes. So just doing some quick rough math, doing 10 minutes of a drift circuit versus doing 10 minutes of Goliath is going to net you roughly the same amount of experience. So that being said, the only major difference here is that you're going to be getting a lot more skill points, and for me this is a lot more fun too. With Goliath, you're kind of dedicating yourself to at least a 10-minute run. A lot of people do 20-30 minute runs doing more than one lap. This, you can just stop whenever you want. Each lap only takes 1 minute and then you can bank that skill. So this is really all I have to say about the drift circuits. I'm going to leave the audio up on this video so you can hear those sexy drifting sounds, and then I'll be back at the end to wrap things up.
Arrived at your destination.
Alright, so you can see here, even on this short course, I earned almost 200,000 skill. I also managed to net nearly 4,000 experience. So I hope this video has shown you that doing these drift circuits can actually be pretty worthwhile. I know this was a pretty unique video. I will be back next week with another tutorial, but in the meantime, enjoy the drift circuits, everyone.